finish date for each phase, plus the start date is actually when we have to do approval, so.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the April 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Lower Downtown Design Review Commission meeting. It is at 8:33 a.m. and we're getting started. So before we get started, let's start with some introductions of the commission. Start with Craig.
Craig Lawrence, owner operator.
Andy Duckett, Key Preservation Architect and Co-Chair.
Fred Glick, property owner.
I'm Heather Vasquez Johnson, Chair and Practicing Architect.
Nick Allen, developer.
Mimi Jones, also a developer.
Mimi, I'm gonna ask you to speak up just a little bit.
Mimi Jones, also a developer.
Just want to make sure that the mics pick it up and then also the folks who are here in the room.
And I'm Amy Amadon representing the Landmark team and would like to welcome Mimi as a new member of the commission this morning.
Welcome, Mimi. Okay, before we get started today, coming up on the screen will be some general audio tips for anybody who is joining us virtually today. So for better sound quality, we encourage you to download Zoom on your desktop, laptop, tablet, or mobile device. Click on the audio settings to bring up an additional menu. Try adding a background noise suppression and test your speaker and microphone to adjust their maximum output volumes. If you are a presenter or a public commenter when it is your turn to speak, to mute or unmute, please click on the microphone icon at the bottom of your screen, and expanding the menu next to that microphone will reveal additional options to let you select speaker and microphone devices and test those to adjust their maximum output. And then if you continue to have audio challenges, we recommend switching to phone audio. We will kind of start and open things up with a brief public comment period. So if there are any members of the public here or on the Zoom call who would like to speak about historic preservation in general, but not specific projects that are under review by the LDDRC today, please raise your hand if you're in the room or raise your virtual hand if you're on the Zoom. Okay, not seeing any. So we did not have a meeting record for approval today, so we will move into consent agenda. The first item on the consent agenda today is item 2025-COA-211 at 1533 Market Street. Are there any commission members who would like to remove this item from the consent agenda and put it on design review? Okay, I'm not seeing any, and if that's the case, does someone care to make a motion? Andy?
I move to approve the consent agenda for April 3rd, 2025 with item number 2025-COA-211-1533 Market Street, Qdoba.
Thank you, Andy. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Nick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, wonderful. If you're on the consent agenda this morning, your project's passed unanimously and you are free to enjoy the rest of your day. We will move right into design review. We've got two items on design review today. The process for design review is listed on the screen. I will announce each design review item as it comes up. If there are any commission members with a conflict of interest, they will announce that and exit the room, at which time staff will introduce the application, give a recommendation. And then after the staff presentation, commissioners may ask questions of staff. The applicant will then have an opportunity to give a presentation. I think for both of our items today, that'll be limited to 10 minutes. And then in which case, after that, the commissioners may ask questions of the applicant. We will open it up for public comment related to the specific project under review with the same process as the open public comment period. Follow up with staff clarifications, and then open commission deliberation, at which time we will make a motion and vote. So the first item on design review today is item 2025-COA-100, 1781 15th Street for a projecting sign. I'll turn it over to Andrew.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Andrew Adams, Landmark Preservation staff. So beginning today, The tenant and business owner of Dental Elements at 1781 15th Street has submitted a request for a new projecting sign. The request includes removing the existing sign and replacing it with a new one in the same location. Next slide. The property is located within 1515 Wine Coop Building and falls under the approved comprehensive sign plan adopted on November 7th, 2024. The proposed sign in question would be installed 9 feet 6¼ inches above grade, mounted on a brick wall between two first floor street facing windows. This placement is allowed under the current sign plan. Next sign. The proposed projecting sign is 11.25 square feet and includes design elements on both pedestrian and street facing sides. On the pedestrian facing side, circular icon at the top features a tooth with a white acrylic face, internally illuminated with LEDs. Below it, a rectangular section contains push-through acrylic lettering spelling Dental Elements. On the street-facing side, the lower portion includes an illuminated push-through logo in the shape of a tooth surrounded by an illuminated border. Next slide. Here's a rendering showing what the proposed illumination would look like at night. The sign is constructed with aluminum backer base and supported by black painted aluminum tubing. The mounting system includes aluminum plates bolted to the wall with expansion anchors. Next slide. The comprehensive sign plan, which governs signage for this property, does not permit for the use of acrylic materials for internal illumination. This means the proposed internally lit acrylic elements do not comply with the approved sign plan. Next slide. The Lower Downtown Historic District guidelines prioritize externally lit signage to maintain the district's historic character. Internal illumination as proposed in this signage does not align with these guidelines. Next slide. Staff communicated these concerns to the applicant and suggested alternative lighting options such as halo or edge lighting, neon or gooseneck external lighting. However, the applicant stated that these alternatives would not meet their needs and maintained that internal illumination is essential for their signage. Next slide. Based on the conflicts with the comprehensive sign plan and the Lower Downtown design guidelines, staff recommends denial of the proposed sign.
Thank you, Andrew. Are there any questions for staff? Fred?
I have a procedural question just to make sure I'm clear. In terms of our purview as this body, do our review criteria then include the comprehensive sign plan and the guidelines, or is the comprehensive sign plan simply guide the zoning reviewer?
No, we are governed by both since this body formally adopted the comprehensive sign plan last November.
Great. And secondly, just a hypothetical question. Were this body to approve the application, would it still then go to a zoning review against the comprehensive sign plan?
Yeah, in which case they would deny it.
Thank you.
We don't know.
Right, we don't know what action zoning would take, but they would also struggle with compliance. I mean, it's not met the plan.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Andrew. Is the applicant,
One comment. So in the last page of your application materials, the owner of the business said he could not attend today. He wrote a letter that is attached to the last page that expresses his viewpoints on this.
Okay.
I don't know if the representative from the signage company is here virtually. I did not hear back.
thank you, Andrew. So I assume nobody in the room is here for this project. Do we have anybody virtually? If you are here to speak on this project, please raise your hand on Zoom and Taylor will move you over. Okay, not seeing anybody. I will open it up for public comment. And again, not seeing any. So I don't think that we need any staff clarification. So let's open it up for deliberation. Does everybody think?
I was digging in, the CSP mentioned internally illuminated like box signs, and I was trying to make it decide whether there was a distinction, or maybe someone on this panel could distinguish a box sign versus internally lit letters.
I think the box sign are exactly what it sounds like, where it is a box that's lit and then it has some kind of acrylic or color on the front that shines through. I would say that those types of signs are usually found on lower quality
Yeah, for sure. Maybe,
establishments.
yeah.
You wanna back it up 3 slides to where it says 1.7, forward 1. Yeah, this is in relation to the materials, so guideline 1.7B, do not use signs with plastic faces, and acrylic can only be used for window graphics.
And, you know, to that question, I would highlight that the applicant in their application, in the letter that is part of their application, seems to indicate that this is, quote, pushed through illuminated acrylic letters. So I don't think that's in question.
No, I'm not questioning that at all. I just didn't know if there was a distinction between like the letters themselves and or a box. So
I mean,
curiosity.
yeah. Yeah, there's a difference in the depth and what you get out of that, but I mean, it goes against the landmark guidelines, it goes against the comprehensive sign plan. I think, you know, while I understand the applicant's desire for a sign that's visible and well lit, I think there are ways to do that and still be in compliance with both the landmark guidelines and the CSP, and this is not doing that, so.
I would agree.
Agreed. You know, I think it's unfortunate that the letter sort of says, yeah, these are the rules, but I think they're wrong. And that's not really a successful path to approval, I think. So I would encourage the applicant, if they review this, to discuss with staff what would meet the guidelines.
Does somebody care to make a motion?
Sure.
Thanks, Fred.
Oh, I don't have that up, I'm sorry.
Green.
Oh. I move to deny application 2025 COA 100 for the projecting sign at 1781 15th Street as per the comprehensive sign plan for 1515 Wynkoop. Intent statements, standards 1.7A, 1.7B, 1.7C, 1.9A, and guidelines 1.7D, 1.7E. Presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Thank you, Fred. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion for denial passes unanimously. Moving on to our second design review project, item 2024-COA-709. Address is 1320 20th Street and 1962 Market Street. Turn it over to Crystal.
So this is a revised application that was originally reviewed and approved at the October 3rd, 2024 LDBRC meeting for 1320 20th Street and 1962 Market Street. So on the left is what was originally approved at that October meeting. On the right is a revised proposal for that application. There are 4 main changes to the approved plans with this application. One, which includes the roof deck and mechanical enclosure alterations. The applicants are proposing to replace that 1-story glass addition on 1320 20th Street with a full 3rd floor roof deck and covered roof area canopy. The mechanical area footprint and screening has changed in relation to the new covered roof canopy as seen here on the right. Number 2, they are adding an inset metal wall connection between 1320 20th Street and 1962 Market Street. At the 20th Street elevation, the applicants have changed this connection between the 2 structures at that 20th Street elevation, which is number 2 here on the right side of the screen. The revised proposal just has a change in material before you get to that glass wall, which is number 3 on the right side. And then the third change here is fluted glass. So there was a condition on the October 3rd, 2024 approval that stated that the applicants worked through a final design for a glass brick frit at the second floor of the glass area on 1962 Market Street. The applicants are now proposing a fluted glass design instead of the brick frit originally proposed. They brought a sample of what that looks like here today. And then the fourth change is a glazed roof system. So on the right, you can see at 1962 Market Street on number 5. Applicants are proposing to fully enclose what was previously an open air courtyard at 1962 Market Street by adding this glass glazed roof system attached to the roof deck. Next slide. So here's the 20th Street elevation with the previously approved design on the right, outlined in red. The metal roof canopy design on the left, which is now proposed, reads as a more modern expression of the decorative parapet on 20th Street below, and less impacts the character of the contributing structure than the previous design. So staff is supportive of the proposed rooftop changes to the design and the mechanical screening. The remaining portions of 1962 Market Street and the glass wall additions are consistent with design and materials found in the district and are to be connected to 20th Street with an inset metal wall connection at that 20th Street elevation. You can see that just at the end of 20th Street between that and the glass wall that will be on 1962 Market Street. So the standing seam metal addition of this connection is approximately 5 feet in width before changing over to that glass wall, which will now be capped by a metal parapet, which was previously not in the other design. These design changes are unobtrusive and do not overwhelm the contributing structure. The changes also help to show the historic separation between 20th Street and 1962 Market Street and show a transition to the remaining portion of the old El Chapultepec at the corner. Additionally, the previously proposed ceramic print of the brick design at the glass walls has been changed to be a fluted glass. You can see that at the bottom left here, numbered as G1 at the second floor, and then they will have a clear glass at the first floor of this proposal. Next slide. So here's the Market Street elevation with the previously approved elevation on the left side outlined in red. And then here you can see the addition of the glazed roof system attached to the rooftop deck at 1962 Market Street. The use of this new glazed roof system will continue to retain this glassy courtyard feel of the space while allowing it to be used year round and will not have a highly visible impact to the overall design from the street. And then here you can also note changes to the top of the glass wall. Again, it has that metal parapet along the top. This is to hold up the new glazed roofing system. And then you can also see a little bit of change with the double door entrance, which is moved further to the right and has been relocated and adds a new transom. Next slide. And then here is kind of an overview of and the mechanical screening area. So you can see that the previous full addition has been removed and it's now a fully open rooftop. On the right at the top, you can see some isometrics of the design. And then some photos of what the metal roof canopy design will look like. So this new design does not change the character of the historic building and appears more compatible and is more visually subordinate to the structure than the previous design. The revised rooftop deck and metal canopy are still set back 11 feet from both the 20th Street and Market Street facades, with the roof canopy column set back even further. And then here on the left, you can see the rooftop mechanical elements are still set back on the new metal canopy, approximately 24 feet from the front facade of 20th Street. And they will be screened by an 8'6" metal enclosure. The enclosure is placed at the rear of the lot as close to the alley as possible and away from pedestrians. Next slide. And then here you can just see some of the details for these new materials. On the left is that metal roof canopy detail. At the center is the inset metal wall. And then finally that new glazed roof system for the previously open air courtyard. Next slide. So the applicants are only proposing these outline changes as detailed and shown here with the application revisions. All other aspects of the previously approved demolition and design will remain the same. And the design still meets all the previous design guidelines and less impacts the contributing structure. Therefore, staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, Crystal. Are there any questions for staff? Not seeing any. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks. I'd like to invite the applicant up to make a presentation. You want to join us at the table in the front here? And then just a reminder, if you could start with names for the record.
Yes.
Back. My name is Matt Runyon, for 1962 Market Street Partners. I'm joined by Jen Neiman and Lauren Sharp, part of 4240 Architecture. Thanks for having us today. I'll admit that I think this particular setting feels a lot different than our previous presentations to you. And I think a lot of that stems from, towards the end of last year and after we last met, were approved. I'll admit that the project team felt a lot of fatigue after a couple of years, right? A lot of back and forth. And I felt like we had hit kind of a wall. And so myself and my partner Kenny, we decided to kind of reset the project a little bit. And that's how we settled or went with 4240 in place of Circle West Architects. And I felt like fresh blood, new ideas was going to be important for us to take the project forward. As they got into the project and we started moving into the SDP process, we discovered a lot with the building itself, right? And I think those two things very much contributed to why we're here today, right? Ultimately, we wanted to take this design, take the previous design and not change the things that were so contentious before, right? But really make this wholly additive. So we worked together as a team to think about how to build utility within the space or increase the utility of the space, which is why some of these things have happened. While also building the actuality of things like the mechanical well, that was more or less a placeholder before. The units are the units, right? So that led us down a path, and we worked closely with Crystal's staff and John Deffenbaugh, Historic Denver, Dick Farley, Chris Shears, as we had in the past, to make sure that we kept consensus coming through this. I think what we came up with was a beautiful design, and we're really pleased with it. And I think the feedback that we've received through our various meetings to kind of present this ahead of this meeting here today is unlike kind of the feedback that I've ever heard on our projects on the block, which I think is a really nice thing to feel. Today, as Crystal alluded to, she's supportive of our new changes. There's two major ones, the one on the rooftop and obviously the enclosure of the courtyard, and then those details that she mentioned as well. I'm gonna hand it off to Jen and Lauren so that they can talk specifically about those items.
Yeah, is it next? Sorry. You're good. Okay. Will you just tell me when you're ready for me to move?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we just skip ahead to page 4? Actually, oops, back.
6.
It's gonna go back to, there you go, perfect, thank you. Hello, I'm Jen Neiman with 4240. On behalf of my colleagues and myself, we're really excited to be here and thank you for listening to more testimony on this project. I know it's been a long one and there's a lot of history here. Really today, we just wanted to discuss the minor revisions that we've made to date. You can see up here on the screen that the first modification that we've made was enclosing that front courtyard. We felt with the elements and the weather here in Denver, as well as usability, and just to really provide an energy on that corner, it made a lot more sense to actually fully enclose this courtyard. So we do have a glazing system that does that, and we'll get into a little bit more detail there in a few moments. We removed the glass enclosure on the existing roof and replaced it with a canopy that is a nod to the existing parapet at 1320, but also has tapered edges to help further minimize the bulk and mass of this roofing structure and make it more subordinate to the adjacent structure. And then really overall, we were just trying to simplify there's a lot of materials here, there's a lot going on. And so what we were trying to do was create one more cohesive building overall, as opposed to two individual buildings. If we move to the next slide. As you can see on this slide, we have added a mechanical enclosure. This was required to make our building 100% electric, as well as conceal the existing specified equipment that we do have on the roof structure. We are planning on using a lighter metal up there and trying to match the adjacent building. So the idea is to hopefully this will fade away into the facade of the adjacent structure.
That being Whiskey Row for kids to know, so next door, building behind it, sorry.
You're good. And then we have a metal infill panel now between 1320 20th Street as well as the PEC. The idea here was that we wanted to further set back this wall so that the existing masonry detail on that corner is further expressed, and really just kind of clean and simplify that connection. Next slide, please. On this slide, you can see a little bit more detail on the roof structure. So again, it's a metal canopy, trying to minimize that edge as much as possible around the perimeter and step it back so that it's really not overshadowing the existing landmark building. And if we can proceed to the next slide. And here you can see the actual glazing system that we're proposing. What we've done is we've actually stepped it behind the existing head and stepped down. So the idea here is that you will not foresee or you will not see this detail from the street at all. We do have an internal gutter system, so there would be no external gutters here either. But what this will do is this will provide a light and an energy that is kind of emanating from within. And then if we can proceed to the next slide. Oh, sorry, back to slide 4, please.
Back a little,
Back a little to slide 4. Thank you.
or slide 4.
And then what you can see here too is the glass frit, the previous ceramic frit glazing that we had. We felt like a fluted glass was more timeless, it's more elegant, and it was really kind of a nod to the late 1800s when these buildings were built. It also provides just enough obscure view on those upper levels in different shades of light so that you see this energy from within, but you can't necessarily see everything that's happening on these upper levels. So it really kind of creates this fun nod of energy and a memory of the space that used to be there.
I'll just say one last thing. I mean, I think before we set down this path, right, to come back before you, which I was reticent to do, you know, I think we went into this with the mindset that like we had to make sure that this was going to be something that you all felt was better than it was before. So we hope you take that away. Great effort was placed into trying to do the very things that we've talked about through previous proposals in terms of sitting subordinate and hiding different features that we're adding here, right? So again, we really want you guys to be able to look at this and say, this is an improvement on what we had before. So we hope you do. Jen, Lauren, anything else to add?
Thank you.
Do you want to see this glass
Yeah,
sample
you have
too?
the sample, that would be great.
I doubt,
We have an actual one being created, but we're waiting on feedback from our energy consultant for the actual glass. But this gives you an idea of what it will look like, and we will bring.
It's
the
two
final
separate pieces, but we wanted to be able to, excellent show. Be careful.
I do. I wonder if you could just speak a little bit about how you arrived at the height of the mechanical screen. It looks from the information you provided, like the height of the mechanical equipment is about 7'2" with the curb. But I think you've gone to 8'6".
Well, it's based on the tallest piece of equipment. We have a DOAS that's fully electric that sits on a pretty tall pedestal. So we're making every effort to lower that as much as we can. But right now we're looking at flipping some of that equipment on the roof so that we can further minimize that height as much as possible. But really, because it's 100% electric, we're limited on the equipment that we're able to specify that will accommodate our building, and it is quite tall. It's much taller than a typical gas-powered RTU.
We did as well investigate the possibility of recessing the mechanical well, but from a structural perspective, that was advised against. So what we have done is we've tried to position these in the most advantageous way to minimize the mechanical well as best as possible and tuck it in the best position. Again, some of these perspectives are meant to demonstrate that from those perspectives, you can't really see it. To Jen's earlier point as well, intentionally painting that well to match the building behind it will further mask it. So I think we've taken great lengths to try to minimize or mask this as best we can.
Is your intention with the glass that it's the fluted piece is this interior pane of the IGU?
It is.
Yeah.
You don't have an elevation that shows the adjacent structure height by chance, do you?
The height, no, we don't. But it is taller than the
If you
building.
go back to slide 4,
Yep.
there's a rendering from that corner. It's the previous slide.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Images no.
So you can kind of see it's Whiskey Road just to the right of our building here. It's grayed out. Am I allowed to stand? You can kind of see on the screen here, this is the top of that roof and it carries straight back to the alley. It's quite tall.
I think too, staff put the previous approved
Yes.
package.
Okay,
And
yeah.
it is shown
Got it.
much more in that package, for reference. Any other questions, for the applicant? Going once, twice? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any members of the public, virtual or in person, to speak on this project? Not seeing any here. Taylor's giving me the head no that there's nobody virtually, so let's open it up for commission deliberation. What do you think?
I think it's a good improvement on the previous. I do agree with that. The one concern I have is the height of the mechanical enclosure. In looking through it, looked like the highest that was coming through the ceiling. Looked like the highest mechanical was 7'2". I guess the other question I have, just to throw out there, part of it is that it feels like it will a little overwhelm the contributing building on 20th. And it looks to me as though it's been positioned so it's not visible from across the street on Market. And I guess I kind of would weigh that against the other. I wonder if it would be better if it were skinnier and recessed further back from 20th. So just a speculation. I'm not sure that it.
You're just referring to the mechanical screen only.
Correct,
not the-
Correct. I'm talking about the
Mechanical.
mechanical screen. So. just
Yeah.
throwing that out.
Mechanical screen, I agree, it feels heavy, but I think that might be just an elevational, look at it in an elevation drawing. And the thing that I really appreciate the going all electric, and I appreciate, that equipment is larger. So it's something we're gonna see again as we go all electric. Maybe there's a possibility of, I'm sure that the exact location of that may need to change as they fit more equipment in there, but the 8'6" does give them plenty of room to make it functional. So I'm not opposed to it, I guess is where I'm going. I appreciate the Fred, your comments, but I think it's a necessary evil.
I mean, I would agree with that. I don't think that there is any issue either if we approve it at 8'6" and then they determine it can be 8 feet or 7'6". Lower is always better. I don't think anybody's going to object to that or staff would object to that. So I really think the question is if we're comfortable at the height that it's at. I agree with Craig's comments. I think that it feels heavy in some of the views, but I think that that's just because it's a flat elevation and in reality, you're never going to see it that way. And I think that even as you look at it from all the way across 20th Street, it's not gonna feel as heavy as it does in a flat elevation. I mean, overall, I think these are really nice refinements. I think I can speak for the commission that we were all a little nervous about the fritted brick on the glass. And the fluted approach, definitely feels like it's going to be a lot easier to control quality and longevity and not have something that looks a little kitschy, and falsely historic, which I don't think anybody on this commission wants to see. So, I think they're great refinements. I think it's that even that upper story structure, I think it's been successful in making it feel less massive by not having that glass on the front, just making it a fully open canopy helps reduce the mass of that third story roof deck. So I'm in support of the changes.
I just like to add too that I know that is fatigue, but they've still kept up with that engagement with Historic Denver, with the neighbors, and we've had those letters of support too.
Yeah, I think I was just gonna echo everything that everyone's saying. I feel like this iteration is much more successful than the last one we saw. I know I always had a little bit of heartburn with that upper story, but I think taking and making it open patio has allowed those exterior walls to erode even more. So instead of noticing a mass, you've got more of a floating plane. I also appreciate the distinction between the historic building that's under our purview and El Chapultepec that's next door. I think having the hyphenated connector is a much more successful move. And I appreciate the fritted glass, which I feel like makes that feel more like a modern addition than, as you were saying, a kitschy brick, which I was not really happy with. I think the fluted glass is much more successful. So I'm in support of this application.
Any other thoughts? And if not, would someone care to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Greg?
I move to approve application number 2024 COA 709 asterisk for the revisions to the rooftop deck and side addition at 1320 20th Street and 1962 Market Street as per design policy standards and guidelines 1.1.1, 1.1. Start that last one. 1.1.5, 1.3.1, 1.3.2. 1.4.1, 1.4.2, 1.4.3, 8.1.1, 8.1.2, 8.1.3. Presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Thank you for that, Craig. It was a mouthful. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Andy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, congratulations. It's been approved.
Thank you.
With that, we will close design review. Do we have any business items or discussion items today?
We don't, other than if we'd like to do quick introductions, if you remember.
Yeah. Debbie?
Hi.
You're on the spot.
I'm Amy Jones. I currently work for Goshen Development with JVs with Continuum. I focus predominantly on multifamily, lightly affordable middle income housing. I recently graduated from TU with a master's in real estate and construction. And I come from a previous career in military medicine, and I'm very happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, so welcome.
I
Okay,
think that's it for today.
all right, with that, we will close the meeting at 9:12 a.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
One.